Okay, we will call to order the September 5th, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Couple of updates. I just want to note there was a significant Commonwealth Court ruling recently that the dating provisions in the state election code and the statute are unconstitutional. And that means that in the past, whereas we in certain counties may not have been able to count people's votes because they put their birthday or the wrong date on the outside of the mail-in envelope, that law is by the Commonwealth Court struck down as unconstitutional. There will be, of course, an appeal that goes to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But just to reiterate, our stance on Montgomery County, and we took this in a special election in January, is that these requirements are immaterial to a voter's right to vote, to their eligibility, and we should make sure that everyone who is duly registered, eligible, is able to exercise their right to vote and make sure the vote is counted. And so we decided to count those votes in regard to whether or not there was an incorrect year. Council advised at the time that the state law meant that we could not count them if the month and day were wrong, but the Commonwealth Court ruled that in fact we should, because otherwise we would be infringing on a person's right to vote if we did not count them. So I'm looking forward to seeing that decision considered by the state Supreme Court. And in fact, Commissioner Winder and I, along with county commissioners across Pennsylvania, submitted an amicus brief to the state Supreme Court yesterday. I believe it was filed, and that brief really shows, one, the disparity that this has on senior citizens who are the more likely voters to have their votes thrown out as a result, even though they were registered and eligible. And we believe that the court should uphold this decision by the Commonwealth Court so that every voter who is registered, who's eligible, and who casts a ballot should have that vote counted. So that's something that we expect some resolution on, hopefully in the coming days or weeks. But it should be decided certainly before the election, which is also important to know because it'd be good for voters to have a sense of that before going in. But we're still going to make sure everyone who casts a ballot by mail signs, states the ballot in either event, however the court decides to rule. So that's one update. And then another update I'd like to share will be after the presentation. And I mentioned earlier in the board meeting that I'll be at a number of forums, including a League of Women Voters Forum. We have the date of that. That is on October 1st at 1 p.m. And anyone who has an interest in hearing more about the process, the election administration process, I'm going to bring Frank up in a second after we comments. Please reach out because there are a lot of questions out there, and there have been changes. I think many of them we'll see are for the better to make it easier to vote. So, any other opening comments? Anything? Okay, so I will invite our Director of Elections, Frank Dean.
Public comment first.
Okay, got it. Actually, before we go to him, I will open it up. Is there any public comment?
There is. We have Joseph Alston.
Morning. I just want to first of all say thank you to the board of the election board, and thank you for your service and leadership. And this young lady here that was here earlier, she talked about leadership and how important it is for our younger people to see it in action. I just want to say that I see it in action. It's my second time here, and I'm just so amazed at how the board of commissioners just bounce you around and then to become the board of elections. That's a fantastic thing. I just want to thank you for your leadership and your service. And then to introduce myself, my name is Joseph Alston. but I'm also known as A 011-289-135. And that number is my alien registration number. And I just want to say that that number will always be with me, no matter what I do or where I go. As a matter of fact, it is on my naturalization paper when I became a citizen. That number, A 011-289-135, is on my naturalization paper. And I just want to say that I'm very proud of that number because that is who I am. And I just recently became a United States citizen in July of 2021. And the only reason I became a citizen was so that I could vote. And I just want to say that I was very impressed that when I was down at the naturalization office, how crowded it was and how many people want to become citizens of the United States for various different reasons. And I'm sure one of them is to vote for the people that represent them. So we should not take it lightly, and we should, as citizens of the United States, want as many people that are humanly possible to vote if they are entitled to vote, or if they have the rights to vote. And I'm just so happy to see that the updates that people are that we are diligent in that fact. And then also to say that this United States was founded on a document called the Declaration of Independence. And Declaration of Independence is very important. And that if you have the time to avail yourself to that information, you should read it. And I would say that if anybody sees anything that's illegal or that is untoward as far as the voting rights are concerned, you should say something. We have various means of contacting state, local, and federal officers to report any type of illegal activity that you know about. If you see anything that's illegal, you should say something, because we don't want anybody that's not allowed to vote to vote. Last but not least, I want to say that Constitution and Citizenship Day is coming upon us on September 17th. And I would say that if you have the time to celebrate that, I will, on September 17th, you have the opportunity to do that. So that's all I have to say. In 3 minutes, it's a very short period of time. Thank you.
So I just want to say, you know what, I have had the pleasure of seeing you at just several events and getting to know you over the last couple of years. And while I don't know you all that well, your comments speak to that everybody has a story, right? And
Exactly.
I just want to thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, so if I can real quick, and that story, you don't know
Mhm.
until you actually sit down and talk to the person.
Mhm.
Everybody has a story, whether you are here illegally, how you were brought here, how you got here. I had no control on how I got here. I came to the United States as a 2-year-old. I was adopted and brought to the United States by United States citizens. So I had no control on my life. So that's right. Everybody has a story. And you should, if you have the opportunity, to find out what that story is. Thank you.
I have a quick question for our solicitor.
Yes.
Although he's very proud of his number, is that something that we should be storing online? I don't know if that's a private
Can
number.
look into that.
I just want to be able to protect his, you know what I mean?
I understand. I've never encountered that.
Yeah, I do. I understand. I mean, I'm not criticizing, or I understand you're totally proud of that number, but this is something that lives online, and I don't know if, just from a legal standpoint, that's something that we should block out.
You mean in relation to this meeting?
Yes, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
in
just,
other words, we can talk afterwards if you have concerns about whatever, something you just said remaining publicly available, but if you don't.
I mean, it's just,
the individual.
I'm just, you know, yeah.
Excuse me, I just got a text message that the election board is not streaming online. The fix.
And that takes care of the question. Okay.
Okay.
All right, next up, we have Preston Lutweiler.
Should we keep going if it's not being streamed live? Well, I got a text that saying the commissioner meeting ended and the feed stopped, so they're watching it probably on
Yeah, I think social media or something. It's not.
Okay.
Seems to be up now.
Okay,
Get it.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Preston Lutmeyer, resident of Limerick Township. That's in area 4 of the 15 areas of Montgomery County. And I just want to thank the election board for everything that you have been doing in this election and everything you're going to do today, hopefully, to make sure that it is as easy as possible for everyone who is eligible to vote and to have their vote counted. So thank you very much. I viewed the recording of last month's meeting, and there were 6 people who made negative and a little bit off the wall comments against some of the things that you were proposing to do or that you had done. 3 of them were from area 4. And I, as a resident of area 4, I apologize for that. I'm sorry that you have to deal with those kind of comments. One of them was somebody who I know pretty well, Jim Mollick from Worcester. And among his comments, he talked about a voter who voted illegally in another state, who was caught, which is great, shows that the system works. I understand that he voted legally in Montgomery County. Correct me if I'm wrong about this. But either voted or tried to vote illegally in Florida. But he's a Republican. So I'd just like to make sure that everyone who saw that video and may have heard what Jim Mollick was saying knows a little bit more. And you can correct the record if I'm wrong about that. Thank you.
Next up, David Morgan.
Stephen Morgan from Amber briefly. Number one is if I consider mailing something really important at the post office, I go to the post office. I ask for the postmark because it's just one step more secure and more efficient too than leaving something in the box. I understand boxes can be maybe tampered with. So that's when I think I ask you to urge that people go to the post office and get a postmark right there in the office. The next one I'd say is the policies for this $145,000 vehicle, which is collecting documents. It's a new item going on so that we have really good consensus about how it's monitored well and the process of how it's going to work. That'd be a totally new thing. My one neighbor thought it was very expensive enterprise. Perhaps this could be used later in the year or used in the future for a long time for other uses. The third thing is the drop boxes. There's more of them, so there's more to survey. And just to watch that, we have enforcement of and surveillance. If you want to comment maybe about that, how it's being secured over perhaps 24 hours or whatever hours they're in operation. Thanks.
Okay, on Zoom, we have Marlene Laska.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. That gentleman who made the comment earlier is so refreshing to see this U.S. citizenship requirement that that he is so proud. So kudos to you. And it also gets to my first comment, which is just wanted to remind folks that the week of 18th or 15th of September through the 20th of September is designated as National Only Citizens Vote Week. It is timed since Tuesday, 17th of September, which he mentioned, is National U.S. Constitution Day and Citizens Day, which commemorates the passage of the U.S. Constitution 237 years ago and celebrates citizenship. Hopefully citizens, local officials, and elected officials would join in the celebration by fixing our elections so only citizens vote. You can go to www.onlycitizensvotecoalition.com to find materials on the week and how one can get involved and to make sure that we are making a whole lot of noise about citizens only voting in American elections, since that is the law. Also, relative to the definition of observe, proposing that the Board of Election define in detail, submit a memo or some type of definition. So observe has a meaning to it, in detail meaning. Meaning that, where one can, for example, where one can, a observer stand and how far away, details like that. Lastly, you should be receiving a letter from Pennsylvania Fair Elections relative to the 2% recount. And the fact that such should be done manually, that's just a heads up. And thank you.
Okay, next up on Zoom, we have Jamie Noble.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first, Jamie Mogul, Lower Marion. I do want to say people are also writing me that the YouTube while Zoom is working, because obviously I'm talking to you, the YouTube and stream are not working. So maybe you can get that going. I just want to say regarding, thank you, Commissioner Makija. As you noted, we just agreed to it. So I am putting together with our league, I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Lower Marion and Narberth, and it'll also include our sister Monco leagues like Abington, Cheltenham, Jenkintown area. To have that forum with you. It's like an election 101, and we will have a link for people to ask questions. Many things like only citizens can actually register to vote and vote. And that gentleman that spoke, I too agree, was very inspiring. And that's why the league goes to naturalization ceremonies, because new citizens, they are the best voters. All voters are great, but of course, new voters is very special that first time that they can register and vote. I do also want to thank the Voter Services Department and the county for the other collaborative work, especially with the unhoused, to make sure that they know they too can register to vote. Even if they don't have a permanent residence, they can register to vote. As well as the Monco Anti-Hunger Network, we are going to have a meeting to make sure that all of our most vulnerable citizens know that they too, if they're eligible, can make sure that they vote and have access to the ballot box. Okay, that is really all I have to say, but more information coming. And thank you so much to all the commissioners.
Thank you.
That's it for public comment.
Okay, great. I'll just say one thing, which is that our elections are incredibly secure across the board in Montgomery County. We verify in the course of registration, someone's driver's license or social security number, verify their citizenship. There's no issue with a mass number of people coming here and voting illegally. And that's disinformation that's being spread very deliberately. So just want to put that out there again. But with that, I'll bring up Frank Dean, our Director of Elections.
Good morning, election board. We have a number of items before you, but first and foremost, we would like to present 9 polling locations that would be returning to their prior location before this primary. These are polls that were moved as a result of Passover. They are all returning to their original locations. I'd like to request the relocation for a few polling locations for the 2024 general election to take place on November 5th, 2024. The Board of Elections is given the authority by the election code to relocate polling places as they see fit, and today I am seeking approval of the board to relocate 9 polling places. These locations are listed in the agenda attachment titled September 5th, 2024 polling place relocations. Notice has been posted at these locations that the polls are being moved as required by law, and the locations have all been notified of the move. We've notified representatives from the county Republican and Democratic committees regarding these moves. In addition to notice being posted, every voter in these precincts will be mailed a new voter ID card indicating the location change and identifying their new polling location. Those are scheduled to go out in the mail on Friday, assuming this passes. I am happy to answer any questions you have and request that the board approve these relocations as presented.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the relocation of the polling places named on the attached document titled September 5th, 2024 polling location changes, beginning with the November 5th, 2024 general election and continuing for all elections going forward. Is there a second? Any board comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Okay, would you like to give us further update?
Absolutely. So we have finished onboarding 10 temporary staff. We are onboarding an additional 10 next week and have a third group slated to begin at some point thereafter. We are working closely with assets and infrastructure and our county IT department to set up additional workstations. Those that third group will be able to be brought on once those are complete. We have processed just over 105,000 applications for mail ballots. The significant uptick I have been referencing in previous meetings has occurred. We're currently sitting on about 5,000 outstanding applications, but I'm confident that between our current staff and all of these additional temporary staff will be able to make the work of those, as well as any other that come in between now and the deadline. We have.
Are those paper or electronic?
There are about 3,500 electronic and 2,000 or 1,500 or so paper.
Thanks.
We are receiving about 200 phone calls per day. When we get into the thick of election season, that actually increases about tenfold in an average year. We are planning to be able to handle that many calls daily with the number of temps that'll be operating on the phones. We are working towards a goal of a 24-hour turnaround for any question that we can't answer immediately. That's obviously the first goal, that when a voter calls, we're answering their question, we're giving them the assistance they need right then and there. Anything higher level, we are trying to have a 24-hour turnaround for those issues.
Is there a common theme to any of the calls, or it's just kind of?
Winter ballots are going to be ready. Is
Okay.
the most common one, which I will have an update for. We have confirmed 275 judges and over 800 other elected poll workers. Over 100 polling locations are already fully staffed. Our in-person poll worker trainings are scheduled, and we're finalizing a virtual training schedule so that any poll worker that wants to receive their first or additional training will have the option to do so. Speaking of the mail-in ballots, we have completed the first set of proofed ballots. So as of Monday, assuming we have a certified ballot, we should be ready to give the authorization to our printer to begin printing and mailing mail ballots and issuing our in-person ballots as well.
And when you have the proofs, those are all posted online already?
No, they will be posted online once we complete the QA process with test decks.
Okay, when is that?
Monday at the latest.
Monday, okay.
So is Monday, is that going to be the certified ballot at that point? Do we know, or it's still going on?
It is still ongoing. I believe the last update I got was that all of the appeals had been fully briefed before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and we are awaiting a decision. Ben is nodding.
That's correct.
So I got that right.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't really know.
Unfortunately, we do not.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that we gotta, and I keep telling people the same thing. It's like, until it's completely all the appeals and everything's completely exhausted, and when we have that point of a certified ballot, that's when we start to, we could proceed forward. I mean, that's the.
Correct.
So it's not hinged on us.
No.
As far as we're waiting, so you're doing all the prep work that you can, but there's that last piece, and then any appeal that's in play has to be completely exhausted.
Correct.
We get the certified ballot, and then you fire up the engines and get rolling.
Yes, to kind of piggyback on that,
because we were able to finish somewhat ahead of schedule, we are continuing with different ballot iterations in the event that the appeals that are outstanding go the other way.
Right.
So that no matter what, when those decisions come down and the certified ballot is confirmed, that day we are giving those files to our printer to print and mail.
So just to reiterate, so we would be ready on Monday in the case of the anticipated ballot. Would we be ready in these other cases too?
Yes.
Okay, so we're ready on Monday if the court's ready to certify to send.
If the, I should back that up a little bit, if this first ballot iteration is the
Yes.
finalized ballot, we will be ready on Monday.
Okay,
If it's one of the others, it may be a day past that or so.
great. And just to clarify, we've never done this before.
To my
I'll
knowledge,
explain.
no, we have
So
not.
what this is that we've done all the quality assurance work beforehand in anticipation of this ballot. So instead of waiting for the court and then looking at the ballot that they've confirmed and certified, and starting then, which could take a number of days, we're doing it beforehand, so we're ready right when it happens.
Correct.
Great, awesome, go ahead.
So as I mentioned, as of Monday, once we have a certified ballot, those will be able to go into the mail. We would also be able to then issue ballots over the counter at 1 Montgomery, and pending the outcome of my next bullet point, be able to begin running satellite offices and drop boxes.
And just one other question, do you have anything to say about working with the new print vendor? I think there's some changes that are coming with the ballot itself, like the envelope, the punch, the hole punch, et cetera. Anything
Yes,
else?
the most significant one would be the hole punch. Everyone should be expecting that. It is a means of immediately telling if a secrecy envelope was used on a ballot. It's not a damaged envelope in any way. It won't affect your ballot. It doesn't let us read your ballot. It's just so that we can see the yellow envelope inside, and it's a second visual pass. Our Blue Crest machine is highly accurate, but when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of ballots, it's going to miss, some 1/100th or 1/1000th of a percent. And that hole punch allows our staff that are receiving those ballots each day to perform that check before we even put them through to the Blue Crest, as a second way of catching those ballots before they make their way to extraction tables on election day.
That's on the outer envelope.
That is on the outer envelope, yes. It's not on the secrecy envelope. There's no, if you have a hole in your secrecy envelope, please reach out to our office. We can issue you a replacement secrecy envelope. But your ballot is absolutely still protected. The other thing is we are pre-filling out the year on the back of the envelope to remove that hurdle. So the voter still needs to sign and fill out the month and day. We have revised the language in both the instructions and the envelope itself to make it very clear that that should not be a birth date. It should be the date that you are executing that declaration.
So one of the things I know that the team is doing is proactively just communicating out to the public some of the changes and what they need to be aware of. If there are changes to like the way the envelope looks, I don't want to create more misinformation around like this is not the ballot, this is not the way the ballot looked in the primary. So I think it might be in the spirit of those communications that we do, if we like take a picture of it and put it on social or something like that, to just help people anticipate what it could look like, because most people are not watching this Board of Elections meeting. So I know that we're proactively finding ways to just communicate some of the changes that we're making. So just an idea.
Absolutely.
I don't know how different.
I absolutely think we can get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the envelope changes go, those are prescribed by the Department of State. We are allowed to ask for simple variances that they will not approve, anything drastic. We currently follow the to-the-line example of the
Great.
templates to be used.
Awesome.
And we're actually, I don't want to publicize this, but we're helping the Department of State in terms of communicating some of.
We're in a work group where a lot of their new ideas are kind of tested, and they float them to see who would actually want to support that idea, who would have any kind of cause for
Yeah,
concern.
if it's new, we should communicate to the public.
We wanna make sure we're-
any changes that we've made as
Absolutely.
appropriate.
That is it for my election updates. The last item before the board would be the proposed addition of 4 additional satellite offices and 6 additional drop boxes. As requested, our team reviewed the available areas for these, and the lowest barrier to entry would be a municipal judge or district court, where we already have county infrastructure installed. We identified the 4 largest places to situate an additional office and drop box, as well as created a program for servicing all of those so that live ballots are never stored on site. The drop boxes would accompany all of the additional satellite offices as well as our existing satellite offices, which is why there are 4 offices but 6 drop boxes. 2 of our current satellite offices do not have a drop box out front, so we would be installing those. These boxes would be under 24-hour surveillance, and we would have county staff members, full-time staff members, operating any of the satellite offices. That would be a mixture of both the full-time voter staff as well as other full-time county staff that have volunteered to assist us through the election. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have about the offices.
So is the goal at the satellite offices, if somebody comes in and does a vote at the satellite office, the ballot then's put into the drop box?
The drop box out front, yes, sir.
Out front, not the way it's been done before.
The way it has been done before was a ballot box behind the counter.
Right.
This would allow us to have the sheriffs to continue to service the boxes, and they would have access to the boxes as they need, and we wouldn't have to worry about coordinating a schedule between a sheriff's team picking up the ballots and the staff on site.
So then the idea is the person that's voting would walk their ballot out to the drop box and put it in?
Yes, they could. They could also hold on to it and return it via a mailbox or.
Well, no, I mean, but it's not, they're not handing it in to staff and then staff is walking the ballot out.
No, they're not.
Right, so they're, right, okay.
Any questions?
I would just say, can you just elaborate on the rationale behind why the satellite offices were picked and the work that you guys did
Certainly.
to?
We wanted to ensure that the highest number of Montgomery County voters were within a 5-minute drive or a 1 to 2 mile walk of a satellite office or drop box. Our county GIS team ran those numbers, and based on those, we selected the largest population areas that we could, while also giving care to the geographic layout of the county to ensure a somewhat even spread of all of these locations.
I just think that's important for the public to know.
Great, so thank you for the presentation, and to reiterate, this proposal would double the number of voter services satellite offices from 4 to 8, increases the number of secure ballot drop boxes from 12 to 18, and if this passes, this is a clear sign to all eligible voters that we are committed to making sure voting is easy, secure, and convenient here in Montgomery County. There's still many counties, it's important to note, that don't make any of these options available. They don't have drop boxes, they don't have satellite offices, and up until Washington County recently got sued for it, they didn't tell people when they had errors on their ballots. That may change depending on the outcome of that lawsuit. And in Monco, we're doing all of these things. So I want to thank the team for working hard to make these things happen. I know it's not easy to work through all the logistics. I also want to thank the court administrator for allowing us to we're using the MDJ offices, and part of that is because of the necessity to connect securely to the network, which they're all equipped with. The sheriffs, of course, are critical in making sure that we can pick all of these ballots up from the drop boxes, and Sheriff Kilkenny let us know that he doesn't think it's going to be a problem to move that timeline up if we get ballots out sooner. So it's going to be great for people to be able to go to a drop box whenever they get their ballot. And all of this takes a lot of collaboration with partners across the county, with the DOS, and the team. So I just want to thank you, because from the voters' perspective, as you noted, we're now moving from 30% that we're 5 minutes from a drop box to now 50%. I think we'll continue in that direction to make sure that as easy as possible for every voter. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the addition of the satellite offices and drop boxes at the proposed locations as set forth in the attached document titled Proposed Satellite Election Offices and Drop Box Locations, beginning immediately and continuing for all future elections with the authority to establish dates and times of operation for Dropbox and satellite offices for any given election vested in the chief clerk of the Board of Elections and the Director of Voter Services. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any board comment?
The only comment I'm gonna make is I didn't get the final list of drop boxes and satellite offices until late last night. I don't see any expenses associated to these satellite offices. There's a cost to doing this, and I didn't see any of that information provided. And I, based on just the agenda itself, I don't appreciate getting an agenda less than 20 hours, less than 24 hours before a meeting, and then getting an updated one this morning. So there, in my opinion, there's a lot of information that wasn't provided.
Okay. So one thing I would just reiterate is that the offices are all county-owned, correct?
Correct.
So we're not
Well,
signing.
they're currently operated by the courts. Some of them aren't county-owned, they're leased.
Right.
But they're regularly used as county
Okay.
offices or court offices.
So we're not like signing any new leases or anything like that?
No.
No, so this is existing infrastructure that we're staffing and making available.
Yes.
Right, and there's costs associated to staffing and that, so there are costs, and I didn't get any of that information.
That is my mistake. I will get that to you
Okay,
as soon as possible.
got it. All right, so with that, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye.
No,
Okay, so Commissioner Winder votes aye. I also vote aye. Commissioner DeVello votes no. The motion passes.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks. Okay, I think. All right, with that, anyone have any closing comments?
I do. I just want to thank Frank. I know I say this, but I just want to say it again publicly. You've done a really nice job taking on the Director of Election roles. I know that this is a critical year, a presidential year, and I recognize that with a new board and all of the changes that we've wanted to implement, the kind of stress and strain that can put on you as well as your team. And so I want to thank you for your leadership. I know we're not out of the woods yet, as Lee says, we're in the red zone, but you all are doing great work to take the necessary steps to make sure that we deliver on our promise to deliver free and fair elections. I also, so thank you, Frank. Can we give Frank a round of, let's give Frank a round of applause. Everybody likes a round of applause sometimes. And then what I'd also say is look, anyone that steps up to serve, whether it be sitting on a board of elections, whether it be serving as a poll worker or poll watcher, really cares about their civic duty and civic engagement. And I just want to reiterate and stress the temperature that exists in this country around our election and the divisiveness that currently exists. I want to say that you can want your candidate to win, but you don't have to be misogynistic, right? You don't have to be racist. You don't have to spew negative and hateful speech in order for your candidate to win. And so I'm just going to ask, we have people that are volunteering their time, that are taking on temporary work to be a part of this, our democratic process. And people are scared, right? People are afraid for their security. And so I think we all have a responsibility to take down the temperature just a little bit, right? And really focus on, right, kind of as a Board of Elections, what we can do to deliver on our election operation, but then also publicly, if you have your candidate, what do I say to convince people to vote for my candidate, right? So I just want to just say that publicly because I spend a lot of time on social media, probably shouldn't. My husband tells me to get off social media. I spend a lot of time watching the news. And I just want to commit to demonstrating and modeling that mantra, that leadership, that, you know, if I want a particular candidate to win, I'm going to do it in a productive, positive manner. And so I just want to say that, and I'll continue to say it until we get to over the finish line on November 5th, or November 6th, or 7th. I think it'll take a couple days after that.
Yeah, we can talk about that at next meeting. You got anything?
Two things. One is that I hope for in a future meeting that we discuss, something I brought up for several months now about, having a little bit more access for people watching at the canvassing and all that. And second, there was a comment made earlier today that talked about a specific area. I just want to point out that areas have nothing to do with the county. They're political subdivisions or entities or whatever you want to call it. So the county doesn't engage, as Board of Elections, we don't engage in that conversation or specific areas or political subdivisions or political groups or political parties. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that as well.
So, okay, with that, I think we're ready to adjourn. So I'll make a motion to adjourn the August 15th, 2024 meeting of the Montgomery County Election Board. Is there a second?
Second thought?
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.